it started to become uncool to play and talk about Pokemon as I started to move into year 8. So at this point, I think I'm 12, 13. So people aren't really, talking about it or involved in it, to the point where when I eventually got Pokemon Sapphire, I didn't talk about it with my friends, which is a shame, because Sapphire and Ruby were another massive jump between gens that introduced full cover abilities, all the different new Pokemon in Gen 3, which are some of the best designs in my opinion, and the things like the Pokeblock mechanic and the contests and just the size of that game and double battles and everything else. It just added so much more. And I couldn't really talk with anyone about it, but Gen 3, my brother had Ruby. Gen 3 was another one of the games where I also completed the Pokedex too.
Wow. See, Gen 3, I distinctly remember being one of the first games I wasn't really a fan of.
Oh, okay, this is where we get controversial. Why?
So, I love the games now. In fact, they're one of my most revisited. I think Emerald is one of the games I've played the most over the years. But I got Ruby. I got a Game Boy Advance, and I got Pokemon Ruby for passing my SATs. So end of year 6 kind of thing. I did really well in them, and I got a reward for that. And I remember playing through it, and I think it was just the fact that it was all new Pokemon. There was none of my favorites in there. Like, when you played through Gold, there was a bunch of new Pokemon, but you could play with the old ones if you wanted as well.
Yeah.
This was, no, you have to play with the new ones. I was like, well, I quite liked some of my old friends.
Okay.
I want those. And I couldn't trade up to it because
no, you can't.
No, you can't do that.
You still can't. No, Gen 1 and Gen 2 are locked. So unless you have the digital versions on 3DS, you can't get that. You can't move your Pokemon from Gen 1 to Gen 2, unfortunately.
No, so I couldn't do the thing like I did in Gold, where I went, and I remember I was sat, again, up in Scotland. I had Gold, and my cousin had Red, and I was like, do you need that save file? He was like, no, why? I was like, because I'm going to reset it a bunch of times, and I'm going to get all the Kanto starters in my Gold playthrough.
Yes.
And I'm going to play through it with all of those, as well as my other starter, which is going to be really cool. I couldn't do any of that with Ruby. No. And then, as much as it's like a cliche to say, and it's a bit of a meme, there was so much water. And I remember getting lost, especially trying to find Sootopolis was a nightmare.
Oh, it was, yes.
And I beat it. I remember beating it because I remember finding Sootopolis. I remember catching Groudon. I remember, beating the Elite Four, but it just didn't feel the same to me. And that's where my love of Pokemon never vanished, but its hold on me, my deep interest in it started to wane a little bit from there.
Right. Okay. So that was the first nail in the coffin, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you make it to Gen 4?
So I didn't get Gen 4.
Okay.
My younger sister had Gen 4, which is interesting because it was her first Pokemon game because she was my younger sister. So every time she wanted to play, she just played mine.
Right.
This was, I'd not to get too much into my own family history, but she lived with my mom and I lived with my dad at this point. And I went down to visit one weekend and she was like, oh, I've got new Pokemon Diamond. Do you want to play it? I was like, yes, I do. I've only got a weekend though. She went, oh, well, don't worry about that. I've got a Game Shark here. You can put Advanced XP on, which I'm so grateful for now because I didn't realize at the time that the XP curves in Diamond and Pearl were so horrendously bad.
Oh, really?
Like, it was the first time they'd introduced what was in, like, Diamond and Pearl and Black and White, which is, if your Pokemon's at a higher level than the things you're grinding against, you get less experience for it.
Is that... I thought that was Gen 5. I didn't realize that was in Gen 4.
I think a level of it was introduced in Gen 4. It wasn't as bad as it was in Gen 5, but Gen 4 is quite a hard one for grinding in, and everything's just slower generally anyway. So I remember playing through Diamond basically in a weekend, and it was fine. I liked my Staraptor, I liked my Weasel. I remember not evolving my Buizel because I really liked Buizel.
He's so
I
cute.
thought Floatzel looked stupid, so I kept it as a Buizel.
Yeah.
Basically did the Elite Four with a Staraptor, Dialga. Trying to think what starter I picked. Oh, I picked Torterra because Torterra is the only starter I've ever picked in Diamond.
Right.
And yeah, I played it. I beat it. I left it.
Right. Okay, so that's a little bit similar to mine. So Gen 4 is when I kind of, well, it is when I dropped off. So I was at my first year of university by the time I finally got round to Diamond and Pearl. And I had Pearl. I took my, so when I first went to university, I didn't take any of my games consoles, with the exception of the DS. And the reason why is I didn't want to be that person at university who's like, oh, I'm just going to play games all the time and I don't socialize, don't make friends. And everyone else did the same thing. And within the first week of knowing one another, we were all like, yeah, let's go home and get our consoles. So that was like one of the first nails in the coffin for me, because at that point I stopped playing on the DS because I was like, well, I can play Halo and I can play Call of Duty with all my friends and on LAN and we can play that. And so for me, for Pokemon Pearl, I remember my starter. I got Chimchar. I got to Roark and I beat Roark with a Monferno, and then I put it down and I never picked it up, and I eventually sold it and I sold the DS, and I didn't go back to Pokemon for around, I think it was 8 years, but it might have been 9.